everyone! Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. I am your host, Kay Purcell, and that's David. He's got a different background today.
Yes, I do.
David has very generously taken time to be with us today, even though he's got better stuff to do. But
I mean, I wouldn't say better stuff.
That's friendship.
I have other things.
So, welcome. We are, as the title says, we're doing a shorter session today because coming up at 8 o'clock is the Rainbow Roll. I gotta help with some of the setup of that. I'm fortunate to get to do that. Hey, kids, how you doing? Yeah, we're gonna be playing Thirsty Sword Lesbians for charity. I got to play in a game last week. It was amazing. Candace the Magnificent is truly magnificent, and Connie Chang is incredible DM, and it was just...
Oh my god, Connie, yeah.
They're amazing. They're truly a gifted storyteller. So, hi, Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. For those of you who don't know, this is a TTRPG talk show, and we talk about all sorts of TTRPG stuff, from hot takes to intersectionality, indies, all the good stuff in between. This is going to be a little bit of a lighter episode because it is shorter, but it is Pride Month, and we wanted to talk about gender roles in TTRPGs, which... that's a very loaded thing. We could probably go into it for a long time. We're going to do a shorter one. We're going to do a little bit of a light dive. Before I do so, like I said, we do this every Tuesday. For the next 2 Tuesdays, today and next week, will be the final 2 episodes of the Rainbow Roll. Please head over to Todd Moonbounce's channel and check that out at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tonight is going to be amazing. April Kit Walsh herself, the creator of Thirsty Sword Lesbians, is going to be running a game. We've got incredible guest players. It's going to be amazing.
And it's for charity. And it's for a very good charity.
All donations, your donations will not only impact the game, it will earn you a thirsty haiku, several of which were written by our very own David. Hey, JD. And, it all will not only impact the game, it also goes right to the Trevor Foundation. We've already raised over $1,000 for charity. That's amazing, especially in an economic state like this. So thank you all for watching and donating and supporting and tweeting and all the amazing things you've done. Tomorrow is the series finale of Strixhaven Fractal Convergence. That is an edited actual play run by Otherside Steve, who's in chat. The final episode will be up tomorrow, right here at 7 p.m. Eastern. There's a couple tiers for reasons that you'll find out. There's a couple tiers, go be honest. And then so this is a lie. I have it down as June 22nd, and I realized, looking at the social calendar that I created, my day is incorrect. Starting on, maybe it is, June 22nd. June 22nd, I will be premiering on the Emergency Power podcast. And that is where I play Soul, who, if you watch Thirsty Sword Lesbians, that's actually a modified version of the character that I play in Starfinder. So come see me in space. Let me do... tonight at 8 p.m. ET, and then June 22nd. There we go. Links in chat because I didn't pre-set those up. Sorry, y'all. Thank you all for joining us. Look at that audience. Y'all are already blowing up. But yes, check out Strixhaven. Series finale tomorrow. It's a tearjerker. It's a good little story. But today, we're going to talk about gender roles in TTRPGs, because there's some interesting histories to it, and some things that are good, some things that are bad. Oh, a lot of people hear me scream in that game. I am very loud and obnoxious in that game. Space won't even stop me. And actually, this, for me, the whole discussion of gender roles in TTRPG started because of this hilarious tweet, which I will link in the description or in chat if you are watching live and not on YouTube. But I have to find it first, because who didn't have this queued up? Me, because we were setting up a travel thing. Was this wonderful little tweet which brought me joy about there's no reason that dryads should be a woman-only race. Like, what does the race of the dryad benefit from only being women? And one of the hosts is arguing that there should be male dryads and they should be called doodads. And look,
because they're dudes and they're dryads. So he makes a very good point, but ooh-wee.
Well, and then Twitter, being the wonderful, terrible creature that it is, whipped back around and said, may I please suggest they be called drylads?
Ooh.
And look, I support both doodads and drylads. You can, if there are any male dryads out there, please tell me how you self-identify, and I will be so happy to support whichever, because they're both excellent. And if you have something better, please let me know.
I mean, but let's be real. Like, I'm here for the character art of doodaddies.
Oh, doodaddies would be the beard with the flowering beard with like little rose petals over the nips, because just a little bit of modesty, right?
Yeah, little demure.
Yes. Hey, Domo. So that kind of got me like going down a spiral, because I'm gonna be honest, this was before my time in the TTRPG space. There actually used to be a lot of different stat blocks for male and female characters.
Yep.
Did you play in any of those, David? Because you've been in the space longer than me. It's pretty long ago at this point.
I remember doing character creation circa like 1999, and this was before I really got into having female avatars in every game. But I was like, I could play a dude, or I could play. And I remember thinking I chose a dude because there were advantages that I wanted versus the advantages of playing a female character. Like, I remember that was like a cognizant decision I made. I was 15, 16 at the time, so it wasn't like gross then. But thinking back, it's like, yo, really?
That's actually, if I told you we'd absolutely 100% derail this into video games almost right away. But I don't know if you ever played Octopath Traveler. Y'all,
no, but it's on Game Pass though. So if you haven't played, slap down your $10, go play it.
I have mixed feels about Octopath Traveler because it's got a couple of my favorite characters. I love two of those characters more than I can verb. It is gorgeous. The HD 2D, the like pixel art, it is so beautiful. And it's got some characters that are problematic AF. Like, there's a couple stories in there that I'm like, and it's kind of those stories where a bunch of people went like, this is empowerment, and I'm like,
is it though?
It's not. Okay. I mean, if that, okay. I'm not gonna say this on the internet, or else I'm gonna get hate mail.
Right.
And also, the voice actors for one of my favorite characters turned out to also be a bag of dicks, so it's like...
Oh, that's bad.
But, I really do love Octopath Traveler. By and large, absolutely plan to play it again. And you go through, all the characters have, like, their base gear, and then you change classes. And kind of like in Final Fantasy, you know, how you change classes and your outfit changes to match the thing.
Yep.
And one of the lead characters is like a dancer character, and she's in this kind of skimpy, sexy, thighs out outfit, belly dancer-ish outfit. And any of the boys who go dancer are in the same outfit.
Awesome.
And I'm like,
perfect.
Mwah! I wanted this so badly. This feeds all of my fanfiction desires so nicely.
Right.
And yes, since we've derailed into video games already, let's talk about bunny boys.
Yes. It's funny because a good friend of mine has gotten me into Final Fantasy 14 over the years. Like, he's like, come play this, and I would come play, and I'll play for like 2 months, and then other things happen, and then I'll come back. And Final Fantasy 14 is a well updated game, and there have been, tons of free content, additional expansions, yada yada, all sorts of tie-ins, some good, some bad. But I come back, and part of what makes Final Fantasy so appealing to so many people is because I really feel like the races in Final Fantasy 14 overall are more appealing than in other MMORPGs, including
Tiny potato.
Right, and I play a tiny potato. She's adorable, but there was, and I forget what they're called, but they're bunny girls, like they're just cute, thin, with bunny ears. And I remember I came back, and like literally like everybody in the guild I was in at the time had one of these characters. Like they all had bunny girls. Right? Yes. And then I come back last time. I think it was fourth quarter to 2021, and I'm looking around. I'm like, huh, that bunny girl doesn't look like a bunny girl. And he's like, oh, that's because there are bunny boys now. And in the game, and so like in the game, there are all sorts of activities that players and guilds organized, one of which was a nightclub, and it was goth night at the nightclub. And so it was like this whole thing about how I had to go get a different outfit, and then he had to like help me find black dye so that I could dye my clothing black, and then I had to like unlock the makeup and hair thing so I could change my makeup to be gothy. There was just all these things that I had to do, and it was a good time because like we got to hang out and run around and whatnot. So I get in my goth outfit, and I still have like, the pink pigtails. I'm still an adorable little potato. And then I walk in, and it's like 75% bunny boys. And I was just like, I'm so happy about this. They're everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mention, all of this because it has become a lot more mainstream to not have these restrictions. Because, yeah, when I was growing up playing video games, I generally wanted to play a boy avatar. Number one, because I'm not that bi, I'm not that into girl butts, especially like a girl butt that I will never maintain, right? Like I will never have, I don't need to see, but also boy characters tended to have better stats. Girls were usually healers or squishy magic users, and I'm like, right, I want to go hit something. So it's nice to see that change, and then it's so delightful to see it going the other way. Like, okay, yes, bunny girls, but now also bunny boys, and just everyone was celebrating. There were so many bunny boys, and it was joy. But speaking of like gender locks, one thing that is not gender locked, which brings joy to many people, is the tradition that seems to really be solid across all TTRPGs of women dwarves growing beards.
Yep.
And I've been lucky to play TTRPGs with several of my friends. The first home game we played with Christina and her girlfriend. Christina rolls up playing a dwarf and spends a ton of time describing how her beard is braided and exactly where the flowers were, and I'm like, this is joy. This is... And also, I am sure there's no shortage of glitter beards on lady dwarves, and I need more of that. Like, I just need more glitter beards in general, but a glitter beard on a lady dwarf would just...
Absolutely. And I think one thing that we need to emphasize and recognize is how far the rule books and the space as a whole has come along. Because like I said, I remember when you had different stats if you were a dude or a chick. Um, and now, I don't know if I think it's in 5e. They say, hey, there's no separation between the two. There's no stat differential. And it says, don't be bound um, by gender or sex. And so, so Kay helped me design. Well, no, Kay designed. Kay made this map for our home game.
You laid it out. I just made it pretty.
And she was like, so down in this spot, there's just empty space here. I put a tower there. I don't know if you want a tower there, but I was like, no, the tower's there. And I planned a bunch of stuff for the tower. The party's gonna get to that eventually. But in doing research for like building a custom monster, doing a custom stat block for that, and tying it into both the world that I made and the world of the Forgotten Realms, of course I went and dug up a bunch of gods, and there are androgynous, non-binary gods from many different pantheons. And I was like, okay, well, I will grab one of these non-binary gods and stick them in my game. And I didn't think about it until after our session, and actually even until we started talking about today's topic. I was like, wait, it didn't give me any pause that there was a non-binary god that was just part of the Forgotten Realms pantheon. And so I think it is really important to acknowledge that these big steps have been made. And does that mean that there isn't more to go? Of course, there's more we can do.
There's a lot of things to clean up.
Right.
There's a lot of history to... I'm also going to throw out, and this is a slight sidestep, but we got a short episode today, so we can ramble a little bit if we want.
Yep.
We talk a lot about representation matters, and it is Pride, so we are talking about, like, gender norms and representation and all of that. But all kinds of representation matters. And when Tal'Dorei Reborn came out, they released this image, which I just dropped into chat. I will put it in the video description if you want to see. But this is official artwork from Tal'Dorei Reborn of the Wild Mother and the Warbreaker. I believe she's Warbreaker. Lawbearer. And they're a couple, and that is beautiful. But the number of women of color I saw retweeting this going, holy shit, I have the body of a god.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is beautiful. You can't tell me that's not an amazing couple. Amazing art. I just love it all. Just love it all. And yes, chat, I am sure that there's other stuff that we haven't thought of and things that we're missing because we've only got our experience. So if you have other, like, gender norms or, cool, like, things you want to talk about, please shout it out. But yeah, sorry, I'm distracted by the art that I posted because it's just really, really pretty.
It's great.
But I actually, one of the things I was going to spend a little time in, and David, we've played Pathfinder. Have you played Starfinder?
I have not played Starfinder yet.
So, I'm digging my way through Starfinder. It is a learning curve, especially as I'm jumping in at level 6. Think about gender norms. Have a question. Please hit us. Hey, Candace! So excited to see you. Don't stay here too long. You've got a game to get ready for. And I know you're going to be extra and you're going to do makeup. So go do it. But within Starfinder, they have Starfinder is also being very, very good about trying to update things and create Fender norms. I love it. Um, trying to be very, very good about updating lore, being inclusive, you know, being good citizens. And one of the races which I stumbled upon because it's tied in with my character in a way that I won't dig into yet, are called the lashunta. And the lashunta are almost insectoid. They have psychic born into psychic abilities, little antenna. They have kind of facial spots or facial patterns, and they're like incredibly beautiful because they're very symmetrical. And they're kind of one of these standard races. They're not an orc, but you know, they're like elves, dwarves, lashunta. Like they're just one of the standard races in Starfinder. And they are a dimorphous race. And they all, because of their psychic abilities and their physical beauty, like at character creation, they all gain +2 to charisma. But their dimorphism, now they have one that used to represent male, which was the, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Korasha, I think, Korasha. They're muscular, and they gain +2 to strength at character creation. But they're like brash and unobservant, and they get a -2 wisdom penalty.
Sounds like a man.
And then there's the Damaya, which are clever and well-spoken, but more delicate. And I like this because it's not actually the same stats. They get a +2 to intelligence, but a -2 to constitution. But the lore specifically states, originally on their planet as they grew up, you know, it was typically males would be Korasha and females would be Damaya. But as they learn to control their environment, they can now decide what they want to be. So there is no gender restriction. There is no, you know, male bunnies in this game. You can literally decide, I want to be a big woman or I want to be a clever woman. Like, you can pick which one it is, and it just means that either you or your parents put you in the environment to give you that form of the dimorphism. Which I thought was a really cool, oops, we did a thing that could be a problem. How do we fix it over? Oh, it's just, this is an environmental thing. And the whole reason was like temperature differences or humidity difference, and now you can control that and you take control of your body.
And a quick note about that before we circle around to the question in chat is I've heard over the years a lot of fans complaining about writers and creators changing things to, you know, quote unquote suit an agenda or however they want to put it. And the reality is, if you as a creator, you make something and you make something with an intention and it doesn't get across your intention, then you go and you change it. Or if you build something and it has a bad idea in it, then you go and you change it. Mm-hmm. Like, if no one stepped in to shout down George Lucas, Han Solo would have been a weird alien. Like, and that change added so much that now, like, one of the, if not the most popular character from the original trilogy, and one of the most quoted people from the original trilogy, is someone who is going to be completely different. And also it added in a huge dynamic between Han and Chewie that again has been referenced over and over, and has become iconic. So many of the parts of cinema and fiction and things that we enjoy were either practical or stylistic changes, divergences, that are now beloved. So, they yes, they went back to fix a problem, but they also thought about it and said, okay, this isn't just we're fixing this to make it, gender neutral. This is a way to enrich the lore that we have for our world and our characters, and to give players more flexibility. And it's very hard to go wrong, especially in tabletop, to give your players more agency, because that's kind of the point.
Yeah. That's why we're doing this instead of a video game.
Right.
And I will also say, and if you watch this, you've heard me say this before, if you are not deliberately inclusive, you will be accidentally exclusive. And you can do all of the research and as much as you can and have all of the best intentions, and there's going to be something you miss and or mess up on, something you didn't know was a thing until someone comes to you and says, this is a thing. And a lot of people are like, oh, but that thing didn't affect me, so why are you changing it? Well,
right.
Just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean it's not powerful. And maybe if it didn't affect you and you didn't know about it until now, take some time to learn about it. Maybe this is a sign from the TTRPG gods that, hey, here's maybe a thing that you can learn about and better yourself and make your table more inclusive and more welcoming and become a better storyteller because now you know about this thing.
And also, as a creative, as a content creator, nothing pleases me more than rolling out something and then because I keep people in mind whenever I make something. Like, first off, I say if I don't dig it, then it's not cool, I'm not gonna make it. But then once I make something, I'm like, okay, this is cool, I like it, who else do I know would be into this? And then I'd go, okay, well, this person also likes these things, maybe like a nod to that, a nod, and it starts to fold in all these other ideas and concepts and imagery that I wouldn't necessarily have included before. But when I include something and then someone goes, that thing right there that you thought I would like, I really dig that thing, that really speaks to me, like, that's the best thing in the world. And I've been at comic conventions and other sort of like things where a creator is sitting there and then somebody rocks up and says, hey, this really obscure thing from 1989 on page 55 of this one issue, this is why I'm your fan. And I've seen a creator sit there and have no recollection whatsoever of whatever thing, and they've gone, oh, that's great. But then there have also been situations where they hand the comic book or whatever, or book or whatever, and say, look, this here, you did this, and this is what's, and like, tears have been shed, people have hugged, like, these little things can be transformative, like we've talked about in episodes past about Star Trek. Martin Luther King said to Nichelle Nichols, hey, go back up, put your beehive on, and go sit on the bridge of the Enterprise. And she got to meet the astronaut who became an astronaut because of her, who then went on to be on Star Trek. And so whether it is race or gender identity or sexuality or neurodivergence or any of the other things that separate us, if you can use those things to bring us together and use those things to connect each other, then that's awesome. And as a creator, I want to make as many of those moments as possible. So why would I not?
And all of that is so true, regardless of if you are trying, if your intention is to tell an inclusive story or just to tell a story. I'll do one personal and then one that actually gets to the point. But like, finding, as a creator, there's nothing better than someone engaging with your... We're absolutely getting to that question. There's nothing better than someone engaging with your thing and really understanding what you were doing. My favorite example of this is, I used to review a lot of VR games for Gaming Trend. And I reviewed this one VR game, Necrosis, which was a horror survival VR game. You're at the bottom of the ocean. Your hab has popped. And you are going insane, and your brain is being starved for oxygen, and you are trying to survive and also collecting trinkets of your now dead companions to bring to the surface.
Are the developers okay? Like, are they good?
And
do they need like
game,
biscuits or something?
A scene from that game made it into Godplane, actually. That's how powerful this game was. Ooh. And I wrote my review, and then I kind of, when it came out, glanced around, and a lot of other games were like, a lot of other reviews were like, eh. Like, they're like, well, the jump scares weren't really jump scary. And I'm like...
It's not the point.
And the developers emailed me. They found my email on Gaming Trend and emailed me and said, you got what we were going for. You understood, like, the emotion, the psychology. You got it. And they were like, it's based off this book. Have you read this book? I'm like, no, I haven't. And they sent me an ebook. Because they were like,
cool.
They were so excited that someone understood. Someone was picking up what they were putting down. And if it really is, there's nothing better than just a stranger messaging you and being like, that thing, you did it for me. And I say this specifically, I very much say this because even if you are not out there telling queer stories, telling stories of people of color, if you are just telling a story or creating something that you love and you want to get lost in, by doing that, you are giving people who are going through very difficult times something to escape in. So if you are telling a good story, you are providing escape for people, and you probably won't have any idea of how many people you provide that escape for unless you're lucky enough that they reach out to you, and they do reach out occasionally. I'll also say, so Final Fantasy VII, especially in Remake, the trans community looked at Cloud and said, this is a trans story. This is a story of a trans person coming into themselves. That is what I see. That is the story. And a bunch of folks at Square Enix are like, that's not what doesn't matter what you set up. Doesn't matter. That is a story you told. It was identified by this group. Let it be. Be proud that you told something that was so fundamental that an entire community went, I see myself in that. So, my rant over. Anything else before we jump into Doma's question?
I had something, but it's gone, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. We'll circle back, if it comes back.
Right.
So, non-binary people playing non-binary characters. How do we feel about it? I say fuck yes.
So, I've been thinking about this ever since I read it, and I circle back to two things. One, I personally would never on stream play a female character. That's just not something I personally feel comfortable doing. And not just because I don't think I could do that character justice, but because I don't think I could present an earnest and accurate portrayal, and I don't feel like I could do something whereby, you know, women would go, okay, it wasn't perfect, it didn't land, but we see that your intention is good and this is well thought out of and well executed. And the other thought I have is Critical Bard. Critical Bard, non-binary, and presents...
Jimmy Mail.
semi, right,
Demi, D-E-M-I, is
Demi,
specifically how they,
right,
just honoring how they express themselves. They're not non-binary, they're demi-male.
right. And that's wading into waters that I'm not educated enough on. But the way a critical bard's presentation in many different plays have been so dynamic and vibrant, that I think that if not me, then other people who are more expressive and who are more emotive and who more deeply inhabit their characters, I think it should give the courage to those people to go for it. And so if that part of your character's personality and existence is important to you and important to the character and important to the portrayal, then give into that portrayal, like commit to that and give it as much life as you can. um, because the reality is just like, when I talk about race, uh, we talk about, white allies for by POC, and we talk about straight allies for the LGBTQ plus community. Um, for It can't just be the minorities, the very slim marginalized groups that have this outsized presence. It has to be other people folding them in, going, this is normal, this is part of our cultures and part of our lives, and we want more of it, to be part of our cultures and our lives. So, um, again, I can't speak as someone who's non-binary. Feel free to seek out
Because he took the train.
non-binary people that you know. If it's in a professional setting, definitely slap down some money, hire a non-binary consultant. Um, but you know, as long as you're keeping the idea of being respectful and earnest and researched in mind, I say go for it.
So, I'm trying to dig out exactly who it was, and I can't find it to save my life in my quick, frantic Googling of this. But, wait. Are you going to tell me? No, you're not. Okay. A great example of this is in Mothership. Not Mothership, Motherlands, which is an amazing all BIPOC cast crew creation game coming out. Very successful Kickstarter. When they were building the game, they basically built it on stream and were playtesting it as they built. And they had several people playing. One of them was playing a robot, an android, and used non-binary they them pronouns because android.
Right.
It's just like when I played Kai.
Right.
They them don't need, no, I don't know. I don't. And through years of playing this character, the actor who previously used she, her pronouns found such joy and comfort in the they, them, that they started using them. Like, it eased them in and gave them that joy and taught them. So, I think TTRPG is a really powerful way to learn. Now, I gotta be careful saying, like, to learn and to learn empathy, because what you learn at a table is not a true experience. It's a mask, it's a play testing, it is developing some empathy skills. It will never replace a lived experience. But it's amazing how much you learn about yourself when you're at a table and really committing to a character, to a scenario, to letting yourself be vulnerable. Be that a horror game, or be that you and your friends having fun, and oh my gosh, they called me they instead of she for an hour, and my heart is so full, and I didn't know it would feel this way. As David said, as Candace has said, you know, do your research, be careful, be gentle, listen to other people, especially if you can, you know, seek out advice and thoughts and experiences from other people. At a home game, please, absolutely, especially, like, I think Warforged, Changelings, and I think there's another race, but I can't remember. In Paizo, there's the Dromite are a non-binary race. And like, there's definitely, like, we just watched, I don't know if y'all watch Critical Role, Calamity. Calamity's amazing. It's a Critical Role DM'd by Brennan Lee Mulligan. It's got a Bria and Lou, and it's just, it is so good. And Sam plays a Changeling, which are a canonically non-binary race, but this Changeling decided after walking around the mortals for a while, they're male. And that's how they present. And that's their identity. And that's absolutely as valid for a Changeling as it is for a person to be like, actually, I've thought about it and I'm this. I have definitely known people who discovered things about themselves. The two places people generally learn that they are trans or they are non-binary, I swear to God, and it's TTRPGs and it's Stardew Valley.
Yep, absolutely.
It's those two things. People are like, oh, this feels really good. Ooh. So, I mean, bit of a warning. If you do that, you might find yourself really comfy in that
Right?
space. Not saying it happened to me, but it may have kind of totally happened to me as well.
That's interesting, because, like, you know, so I identify as a dude, and you know, like, I've experienced a lot of and known a lot of people who have gone on these journeys of self-discovery, whether it be leaving a religion, joining a religion, confronting their gender identity, confronting their sexuality, and, you know, making these decisions, some earlier in life, some later in life. And I've always felt like I've really been lucky that I haven't had these struggles that others have had. But I've always, like, wondered, like, you know, am I missing something? And so if
you don't need any more crises in your life, trust me.
Right,
Because it's
but
nothing short of a crisis.
if D&D and Stardew Valley both haven't made me come out, then maybe I am where I need to be.
Maybe you're good. So yeah, again, I think especially in home games, if it's not streamed, if it's you and people you like and people you trust, and you all are playing games and telling stories, be sensitive. Do be careful. If someone comes to you and says, hey, you got that really wrong, or hey, I really have, like, listen, that's them being kind. I say this every time, and I'm going to say it every time. Someone coming to you and saying, this made me uncomfortable, this is a problem, I think this is bad, that is not for clout, that is not for attention. That is a terrible, scary conversation to have.
Yeah.
So if someone is coming to you with that, that means that they love and trust and think that you are worth their time and energy. So take that as a compliment. I do think, again, non-binary, I generally prefer to play male characters. Because dudes, even if you're a chick playing a dude, tend to get judged less harshly than female characters do. And it seems a little more safe.
Also because you're a daddy.
Yeah, I've been a beard more than once. I often say David knows I'm addicted to high fantasy, but I'm also very particular about the high fantasy books that I read. And a lot of that is because women in high fantasy are generally so freaking cringe. They're written so badly. And
absolutely.
I found a writer, and I was reading, and I'm like, I really like how he writes women. There were like 3 female, they weren't the main characters, but they were in the circle of the main characters, and they were all great, and they were well written, and I'm like, heck yes, a writer who can write women. And then apparently, shortly before this series, and I hadn't seen it because it's a young adult book, they put out a thing, and the line, it was a New York Times bestseller, which is just like insult to injury. The line about something was like this woman's talking to him, and he's like, he deliberately kept his eyes on her face so he wouldn't look at her little attention getters on her big attention getters.
Ooh! Woof!
And I'm like,
terrible.
I can't read this dude anymore.
Nope.
Oh, this is so bad. Oh, this is so bad. So when it comes to a guy sitting down at a table and saying, I'm gonna play a woman, I'm like,
yeah, are you?
I'm not telling you no. Like, I'm not gonna tell you no. But I also feel like it's maybe 50-50 that I might just not show up for the next session, depending upon your, I was talking to someone, David, about Roxy, my flying spaghetti monster, and explaining the very aggressive actress who was coming on to her. And my character's like, no, I'm too innocent. I can't handle this. Just short-circuiting. And this guy's like, oh, she should meet my bard, and starts, like, my bard would get her comfortable and into bed, and I'm like, no. And then he starts sending me, like, art he's had commissioned, and it's like the biggest boobies and the skimpiest outfit, and like, I'm just like, I mean,
actually, out of every one of my NPCs, like her and Evander are the 2 that I would commission art for.
But
yeah.
So I'm not gonna say if and I'm pretty I'm non-binary-ish. I wish I was more non-binary than I am. Right? I wish I presented way less femme than I do, but body shapes aren't gonna change. I'm also pretty sure, like, this is, I feel like people are less likely to lean super hard into what are non-binary stereotypes, right? Like Tilda Swinton and David Bowie, please lean into those.
Right.
Lean into those, please. I'm here for that, right?
Yeah.
However, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna play a woman or I'm gonna play a man, there tend to be a lot more toxic things you can lean into. And so non-binary, I feel like that's a good kind of middle of the road, and test it out, and okay, well, maybe you are consciously, if you're a dude, maybe you're consciously playing less aggressive, trying to speak up less often and share the space more. Like, maybe these are things that you start training yourself that aren't necessarily feminine traits, but are traits that are generally taught to women.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I personally, someone comes in and says, I'm playing non-binary, great. A guy comes in and says, I'm playing a woman, I'm like, we'll see, right?
Yeah.
I'm never gonna say no, and, like, I love all your women characters, David. They're great. But
okay,
they're diverse. You've got some badasses, you've got some flirty ones, you've got a gamut, right? It doesn't feel like you only
it's almost as if like I think of each character as a person
and you know
and
when
treat them as such. But
when all I when
that seems like a radical idea.
and in a lot of the tabletop space, it's like, oh, I talk to guys and they're like, yeah, I've got like a barbarian, I've got this fighter, I've got a rogue, and then I've got a bard, and I'm like, don't tell me she's really hot. I'm like, it's always.
God damn.
It seems like
Yep.
every dude who plays those three also has the bustiest bard. And look,
Yep.
I don't say this as a way to shame, because you know what? If you have a need to imagine yourself in a gorgeous, big boobied body, and you have fun putting on a husky voice and singing to all of your friends around the table and flirting with everyone, God's bless you. You are living your best life. Live that, ride that rainbow, see where it takes you. Like, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just
Definitely ride that rainbow, because
there is something that I am excited that you are starting to tap into. And if you're only doing it for the lulz, well, then I might say fuck you.
right.
If you're only doing it for the lulz, but like, if this is something you genuinely enjoy, that's Holmes, I forget his name. They're a British TTRPG performer. They were on Critical Role. Very well known. Oh, I'm so mad. Mark Holmes. Was on D&D in the Castle. Just through the course of the pandemic, started dressing up as their female characters. And they're gorgeous. They are great, and they're living their best life, and just randomly posting, not quite cheesecake shots, but commissioning, posting themselves in cute outfits, commissioning cheesecake art of their characters, and just as happy as they can be. And you know what? I support this. That is, live your best life. Even if it never goes beyond the D&D table, the TTRPG table, great. You're just living and experimenting, and if life is a rainbow, why not taste it?
Right.
Let's see. My part is really hot, but they're androgynous and pan. Being busty isn't the best. I speak from experience. Your posture sucks with boobs. Yes. I have no boobs, and I'm very grateful, because I have enough back problems without them.
Right.
And, if you have, and I've said this before, there are women with amazing bodies and absolutely should rock it and flaunt it. And no one says if you're a guy, you can't play a hot chick. Just be aware of how you're playing that hot chick, right? And we went on before about the whole, we did an entire episode. We did a really hot take episode a while back about, he's like, oh, I figured out how to stop everyone from flirting with my busty girl NPCs. They have to look me in the eye and say, I would like to roll to seduce. And then everyone laughs at them. And I'm like, there's so much.
Right? There's so much to unpack with
There's
that.
so much.
Just yeah. It's a hot mess.
But yes, experiment. And as I said, I've definitely, the things that you play, and I'm not even talking can or should play. The things that you play are going to be driven by your own experiences, by your own journeys and your own questions. The version of Roxy, my paladin of the flying spaghetti monster, that I play with David, I play only in my home game because David is an incredible teacher and is doing a whole lot to help me have a better understanding of race through this character, who in David's game is coded as half black. I've played Roxy in other games, but it's not quite the same version or flavor because I can't bring that experience into a stream because I don't have it. So it's not to say I can't ever play that character outside of this setting, but there are elements of her that I have to divorce because I can't speak to it with experience or knowledge or understanding. And if I try and do that on stream, then I could cause unintentional harm. My mistakes could hurt others despite my having learned and tried. So that was a lot of rambling. I think we answered the question. I hope we answered the question.
Yeah, I think we covered some of that ground. But to circle back, it is.
Oh, please! Everyone wants to see you.
I think the non-binary character question really falls into all of the advice that we always give: is do your homework, be respectful, and be mindful of how it impacts others, and be open to input from others, especially people in the communities that are impacted by your performances and portrayals and whatnot.
And home games, clear it with the people who are there. Like most of you have played with me know that we talk about lines and veils or X cards and safety and all that stuff. We sit down and I'm like, I have a line that is very strange. I will fight dogs, but please don't put my character in a position where I am expected to pet and befriend a dog. Don't make that a critical plot point and I'm the bad guy if I don't do it, because I have a really deep-seated phobia. And you can put a dog in there and everyone else can swoon over it. I'm just not going to interact with it. I'm going to pretend like that dog is not there. And please
So
don't
what
try to
you're
force
saying is put an evil dog god in my game so that you could fight God. Got it.
Look, without spoiling anything, you saw what happened to my character in Mothership. Twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Twice.
And if you haven't seen Mothership, you should definitely go check out Mothership, because all the performances are after the Rainbow Roll tonight, because all the performances are great. Speaking of the Rainbow Roll, I have been excited every week, and I am just as excited this week. And I'm tempted to start a pool of like, who is the first person to get smooched by Candace.
Look, Candace in character smooches are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, I need you all to know, I hope these games look as fun as they feel, because after that session, Candace, Jen, and I were up until almost 2 a.m. We were
you're up late.
Recapping shit and like sending playlist links and like, ooh, tell me about your character. Like we were so in love with each other's characters by the end of the game. Without saying too much, it's not going to be quite as thirsty, but the Three Musketeers might be reuniting again.
Ooh.
Soon.
Ooh.
Little teaser there. So, speaking of, can we talk about these thirsty haikus? Oh my goodness. Did you all see the thirsty haikus that David wrote for Soul? Well, one of them was thirsty. One of them was incredibly thirsty. Like, I woke up, I was barely awake, I read through my messages, I've like had 2 sips of coffee, and there's the thirstiest Soul haikus. I've never had a fan haiku. I've been fortunate enough that I have gotten fan art, but David was my first fan haiku. And he's over there dying. He does not want this attention.
Well, yes. But I'm glad that I'm glad I could be your first.
But yes, Candace came up with the idea for thirsty haikus. I was not sure how it was going to work, but
it was a great idea.
I made it work. It's amazing. So, we mentioned earlier about, you can, even with the best of intentions, you can
Yep.
do harm. You can, try to subvert something, but actually end up playing into it if you don't actually know the situation well enough. David, I think we need to talk about the drow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because,
I feel like you can't have a conversation about how spicy the Forgotten Realms is without also talking about the drow.
it's like the drow and the orc, but like the drow, it's not just the Forgotten Realms, right? Like drow were
Yep.
problematic in Paizo games also, like,
Yep, lots of places.
and I'm gonna tread lightly here because I recognize my distinct lack of melanin.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of like culture and things that I don't understand and I don't even pretend to speak to. But just as a pure fan, the drow have the coolest freaking designs. Why did they have to make them racist? I wish the
Right?
drow were just freaking cool so we wouldn't have to talk crap about all the crap that they did to the drow because they're just cool, but there's so much baggage tied to them.
I played this terrible game where the DM snatched agency from everyone. And I was like, the drow are cool. And he was like, oh, you want to play a drow? I'm like, yeah. They're like, all right, so your alignment choices are lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. And I was like, why I gotta be a bad guy? He's like, oh, no, it doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It just means that you're evil. And I'm just like, oh, and by the way, in this setting, like all the drow are slaves. So if you want to play a drow, you have to play an escaped slave. And I was just like, dear white person, look me in the eye and tell me I have to play what again? Furious. But that is part of the experiences that we're trying to sidestep and eradicate, because drow are cool. And maybe you want to play a subterranean elf without eating kid hearts, like.
So, again, I am happy to see there's now another like branch of drow, which have been surface dwellers, and they're like astronomers. The stars are a big deal, so they're not subterranean, right? They're just night aligned, which. Okay,
Progress.
night aligned things are often also
Evil.
evil. So, says the damn fear, who just really likes the night.
Yeah.
But, there's things, and it honestly, and granted, I cannot be into the minds of these people when they made them, or the minds of various people who tried to fix the mess.
Right.
But the whole, like, matriarchy, it felt like we're trying to subvert the whole slave thing, because women are in charge, and women are powerful. But they're also enslaved to a spider king. They're also abusive and oppressive to, like, it's like, okay, so you kind of made it worse. Do you wonder?
Right.
Do you
You
understand how
how
you
this
just
works.
made it worse? Okay. And so, because of this history, originally, and I don't even remember when this went away, and it still pops up on occasion, and I kind of hate that I kind of like it, but like, drow are supposed to be a dimorphous species where women are taller and bigger and stronger, and the males tend to be smaller and more fragile.
Hot. I'm here for it.
So it's really interesting how deep this lore goes, because I'm gonna this understanding that drow are ruled by women and men are submissive in the society is a very deeply rooted concept. In Critical Role, drow are not evil. The Spider Queen was I can verb. The Spider Queen was the drow escaped the Spider Queen long ago, and it is the Bright Queen who rules them now. And she's a drow. She's long lived, and they live on the surface, but in just a place covered with artificial darkness. It's all cool. And then Hot Boy Essek showed up.
Right.
And if you don't know about Hot Boy Essek, there's a lot of reasons to watch Campaign 2. Hot Boy Essek is definitely one of the reasons, one of the more interesting arcs. Hot Boy Essek is a drow. High ranking in the Bright Queen's
Come here,
court.
bud.
And I may have gone down a fanfiction hole around Essek. For
That
reasons.
has never happened to you before.
Never
I don't know what
happened
you're
to me.
talking about. That's silly
And
talk.
there was some, I don't even know how I ended up in this because it wasn't even anything I was interested. It was like a modern AU Critical Role where Mollymock and his family were raising Essek.
Mhm.
None of it makes any sense, but there we were. There I was. Why? I don't know. I couldn't sleep on a Sunday night at 4 in the morning, and there I was.
And there you are. And then
And it-
AO3 attacked.
AO3, right? And it went all the way to the point where Mollymock had to buy special padded knives because Essek's hands were too delicate to use a regular kitchen knife.
Zoinks.
And I'm like, wow. Like, because that whole dimorphous thing. And in fact, they were also going on about Essek had to wear particular braids to show that he was submissive to his mother because he wasn't married off. And I'm like,
That's a lot. That's
Right.
a lot.
right. I'm like, somewhere that there's a fetish in here somewhere. I'm not sure
Right.
where or when it became.
Right.
Like,
Right.
this is a thing. So it's a lot of times people will say, oh, it's just fantasy, or oh, it doesn't. This concept has really taken root, and it has really spread out into other things, and it's just kind of become, hey, Dungeon Master Ty, welcome. So it's become this, like, you can't talk about the drow without it being part of it. And even if they go forward and fix it, it's still going to be there in the consciousness. And why? Because the drow are so cool if you just weren't jerks about it.
Yeah, just get out of their way.
We could absolutely do a whole thing on just a whole thing on the drow, a whole thing on just the orcs. Need to bring in D'Angelo to talk about the Yanti.
Yep,
D'Angelo
absolutely.
would do an entire episode about the Yanti, and it would be amazing. But yeah, I think I don't want to talk about the drow anymore because it makes me sad.
Right?
I do want to
But,
be a little small arrogant peacock of a drow, but I also feel like I'm playing Soul, so maybe that just replaces it. Maybe that need will go away now.
I can think of some character integrations. It'll be fine. We'll work it out. But yeah, no, like I said earlier, a lot of things have been worked on and a lot of ships have been righted, but there's still a long way to go. And we can be upset that there's still more to do, or we can be excited about the benefits, the positive changes that are going to happen in the future will bring. Because like a 5th edition has been out for how many years now?
We're about to get 5.5. That's how long it's been out.
Right. And so, 5.5 will bring changes. 6 will bring changes. And so many more people, especially so many more diverse people with different backgrounds, are now building systems and building modules and folding in their own representation.
We got Radiant Citadel coming out soon. It's the first official Wizards of the Coast 5e book written by all POC.
Right. And we have Emerald Templars coming out, and they're just
Mothership.
like
Not Mothership,
like
Motherlands.
but like Thirsty Sword Lesbians and Advanced
Lovers and Lesbians.
Advanced Lovers and Lesbians. Like, I don't feel like 15 years ago they could have released that in the landscape of the time. And I also don't feel like we could be talking about the issues that we're talking about in the landscape at the time. And so I, for one, look forward to the positive changes that are coming. And I hope that we and people like us, that us and people like us, are voices in that conversation and instrumental in that change. Or those changes, I should say.
And we're seeing, like, look, y'all, I work in video games, and I've worked in or around video games for a long time. And diversification in TTRPG happened much more recently than it did in video games, but it has also moved so fast. Look at his little chin strap beard. He's just got a little bitty chin strap beard under his little white chinny chin.
Oh my god, there's a cat living his best life.
You know, changes are happening. They're happening quickly. They are really being taken to heart. Thank you. And it's really cool. It's really exciting. And I'm happy that I get to play this game that I love in this time when all this is changing. And when there's so many books coming out and so many systems and so many adventures and so many different ways to try and play new games and tell new stories. And I hate to say this because people judge me very, very harshly for it. I really do enjoy playing 5e.
Yeah.
I've tried a lot of different systems, and there are certainly systems that do certain things better, but there's always something about a system that I either don't like as much or that is completely inflexible. So I really enjoy 5e because I can take it and I can use it to play a modern game. I can use it to play a horror game. Does it do it the best? Maybe not, but I can make slight tweaks to it. I can bring in a group of players who already understand the basics of the game. And so many, especially modern games, I feel like, immediately skew so dark. They make you tell dark, depressing stories. And look, I like me a good dark and depressing story if that's what I'm there for, but maybe I want to play the happy-go-lucky character in that dark setting. And often the system just won't let you do that. It locks you into certain characters. So I like the flexibility of 5e. I'm excited to see what Set 5.5 brings. I am super excited to find a system that I like more than 5e.
Right.
Indie creators, please keep making them. Playing Emerald Templars was really cool. I can't wait to get my hand on the full book and the full experience, because that might be it. It was pretty freaking flexible. We'll see.
Yeah, it has been my experience that out of all the different systems I've tinkered around with and like dug through source books, I have the easiest time homebrewing stuff for 5e. So if anybody has homebrew experience with other systems and you've had a great time doing it, please let me know.
At Full Rubber Ducky on Twitter.
Yes.
He wants to know. And I will get to be his guinea pig.
Actually,
so I will benefit from this.
I will tweet that after we are off air and not just talk about sneezing.
I'm watching my kitten try to eat my dice bag, so this is good. So yes, I think that's going to kind of wrap us up. We're going to get ready. I'm going to have to hop off of here and go over to Rainbow Roll.
Yes, very excited.
It's going to be amazing tonight. Any other questions as we do our outros? Any other final questions or thoughts from chat? Please shout them out now. Otherwise, I'm going to start our outros. David, do you have anything to pimp this week?
Not yet, but hopefully by the end of this trip, I will have some cool things in the pipeline.
Amazing. Well, first off, Gilmore. Secondly, hi.
Yeah, you got a busy week.
I've been your host. This is David. He's my co-host. Hoster with a moster?
Something.
You can find us here every Tuesday. We talk about TTRPG stuff. Like I said, this is a shorter session this time because I'm about to run over to the Rainbow Roll. Please go head over at 8 p.m. We will be on Todd Moodbounce's channel playing Thirsty Sword Lesbians with the creator, April Kit Walsh, herself as a special guest GM. Oh my god, Candace, who's on this week? I don't even remember. But they're amazing.
Yeah, it's Candace, it's B.
B Zelda, yes.
And Catiosaurus, and I forget the fourth. I should have this open, but I'm not on my home computer where I have it open.
Hold on, I have it. Who is weak? Matihi, that's the other one. We got Maddie Matihi, right. Candace, Catiosaurus, B Zelda, and April Kit Walsh. Y'all, what a table. What a hecking table that's gonna be. So 8 p.m., please go do that. That is 8 tonight. Tomorrow, come right back here for Strixhaven Fractal Convergence. It is the series finale. It is an edited actual play. It is very glitzy and glamoury and pretty. And as I said at the opening, without giving away too much, there's tears and good reasons for tears. Why? You'll have to come and find out. Chaotic Talk Show, Strixhaven, Rainbow Roll, and then starting on the 22nd. Oh my goodness, is that tomorrow?
Yep.
Y'all, I had my birthday, and I think I've just been in a time warp ever since. Emergency Power Podcast. I am doing my premiere. I am appearing as my, David needs a nap.
At some point.
I am making my grand appearance as Sol, the Solarian Wanderer. If you watched last week's Rainbow Roll, that was a sneak peek at that character. They're the worst in a very fun way. David Bowie, outer space, gender fuck Jedi?
Yeah.
With the halo.
With the halo.
So that's airing. Emergency Power Podcast is in its 3rd season. However, you can hop in right there. We have plenty of recaps. We also have audio recaps, so you can kind of listen to them, explain what's happened. And we have, if you hop into the Discord, which is on their Twitter, there is also written recaps. So you don't even have to listen. You can just skim and hop right in. There's art I'm going to get to share. It's just, I'm so excited for y'all to meet my little NB terror. They're the worst in the most fun way.
Yeah.
David's heard a couple stories.
Yeah. Yes.
So that is what we have going on here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for not enough being said. Not enough can be said about this week's table. Yes. I'm like, I know I forgot the people on them, but I thought I was saying. No, I cannot believe Catiosaurus agreed to come on and play with us. I am fangirling super hard, and the playbooks that are being used this week are, it's going to be such a good table. I can't wait. So, we'll see you over there at 8 o'clock. I'm going to stop talking. We have rambled on enough. Thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate you all so much. I'm going to hit us to end credits, rate us over, and then please remember Todd's channel, twitch.tv.
Yep, I will see you guys in chat on Todd's channel in like half an hour.
I'm so excited. Can't wait to watch. Thank you all again for all the birthday wishes. Thank you for donating to the game. I got so many in-game donations with Happy Birthday Kay. It made my heart so full. And if you are able to donate, all the money goes to the Trevor Project, which is an amazing thing, especially right now with all the anti-transgender legislation that's coming up, with the anti-abortion stuff that's coming up. That is going to have a direct effect on things like gay marriage, and it's difficult economic times. We absolutely understand if you cannot donate. Anything you can do to retweet or just lurk to help get the numbers up is an incredible use of your time and your platform, so we thank you. If you're able, please follow my YouTube. I'm getting closer to getting my vanity URL, and I can't wait to have my vanity URL. That's my plea for tonight. Thank you all again. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. Thank you. Domo Kame did a whole bunch of the art and graphics for Thirsty Sword Lesbians, the Rainbow Rolls, so thank you again for donating your talents. Candace, I will see you there. I can't wait. Thank you all again. Bye-bye.